The Orchard That Sleeps Beneath Us. A folk horror short story. The first thing Emma noticed about the orchard was the silence. Not the peaceful kind she'd expected when she and Daniel bought the old countryside property, but a silence that felt held, as if the air itself were waiting for something. The trees stood in neat rows behind the house, their branches bare and twisted, though it was only early autumn. The leaves should have been turning gold. Instead, they lay scattered on the ground, crisp and brown, as if the orchard had already lived through winter. "It's beautiful," Daniel said, stepping past her with the keys still dangling from his hand. "Imagine it in spring." Emma nodded, though she wasn't imagining blossoms. She was imagining the way the branches seemed to lean toward them, subtly, like a crowd straining to hear. They'd bought the place because it was cheap, suspiciously cheap, but the agent had blamed that on the distance from town and the quirky orchard. Quirky was one word for it. The trees were old, older than the house, older than the stone wall that bordered the property. Their trunks were thick and gnarled, their bark dark as old bone. Emma had grown up in the city. She didn't know much about orchards, but she knew when something felt wrong. Still, she followed Daniel inside, telling herself it was just nerves. A new home, a new start. They'd wanted quiet. They'd wanted space. And now they had both. But the orchard waited behind the house, silent and watchful. The first night, Emma woke to a sound like whispering. She sat up, heart thudding, and listened. The house was old, full of settling wood and sighing pipes, but this was different. It was soft, rhythmic, like breath passing through leaves. Except there was no wind. She slipped out of bed and padded to the window. The orchard stretched out in the moonlight, rows of dark shapes against the pale grass. Nothing moved, nothing stirred, but the whispering continued, faint and persistent, threading through the night like a voice just out of reach. She pressed her forehead to the cold glass. "Daniel," she whispered, not taking her eyes off the trees. "Do you hear that?" He mumbled something into his pillow, half asleep. Emma stayed at the window until the whispering faded, replaced by the normal sounds of night. Only then did she return to bed, though sleep didn't come easily. The next morning, she found Daniel already outside, walking between the trees with a notebook in hand. "You're up early," she called. He turned, grinning. "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd start mapping the orchard. There's more land here than I realized." Emma joined him, though she kept her distance from the nearest trunk. Up close, the bark looked almost porous, as if something had burrowed into it long ago. "Look at this," Daniel said, pointing to a tree near the center of the orchard. Its roots were thick and knotted, pushing up through the soil like veins. "This one must be ancient." Emma crouched, touching the ground. The soil was soft, too soft, damp though it hadn't rained in days. "Maybe we should get someone to look at the trees," she said, "just to make sure they're healthy." Daniel laughed. "They're trees, Em. They've been here longer than we have." She didn't argue, but as they walked back toward the house, she felt the orchard behind her like a presence, watching, listening, waiting. The locals were polite but distant. When Emma went into the village for groceries, conversations seemed to pause when she entered. People smiled, but the smiles were tight, strained. When she mentioned where she and Daniel had moved, the reactions were subtle but unmistakable. A flicker of discomfort, a quick glance away. "Oh," the cashier said, scanning her items. "The old Harrow property." "Yes," Emma said. "Do you know anything about it?" The cashier hesitated. "Just old land. Been in the village a long time." "Do you know who planted the orchard?" Another hesitation. "No one knows for sure. It's always been there." Emma frowned. "Always?" The cashier forced a smile. "Just a saying. You know how villages are." But Emma didn't know. And the way the woman's eyes darted toward the window, toward the direction of the orchard, made her stomach tighten. When she returned home, Daniel was in the orchard again. "You're spending a lot of time out here," she said. He shrugged. "It's peaceful." Emma looked at the trees. They didn't feel peaceful to her. That night, the whispering returned. Emma woke instantly, as if the sound had reached into her dreams and pulled her out. She sat up, listening. The whispering was louder now, more insistent. It rose and fell like a chant, though she couldn't make out any words. She shook Daniel awake. "Listen," she whispered. He blinked, groggy. "What?" "The orchard. It's talking." He rubbed his eyes. "It's just the wind." "There is no wind." He sighed, sitting up. "Emma, you're stressed. New house, new environment. It's natural to feel unsettled." "I'm not imagining it." He reached for her hand. "Come here." She let him pull her close, but her eyes stayed fixed on the window. The whispering continued, threading through the darkness like a promise. Or a warning. Days passed. The whispering became a nightly occurrence. Emma tried to ignore it, but it seeped into her thoughts, her dreams, her waking hours. She began to feel tired, unfocused. Daniel, meanwhile, seemed energized. He spent hours in the orchard, sketching the trees, tracing the roots, taking notes. One afternoon, Emma found him kneeling beside one of the oldest trees, his hand pressed to the trunk. "What are you doing?" she asked. He looked up, startled. "Just listening." "To what?" He hesitated. "I don't know, but it feels like the trees are alive." "They are alive." "No, I mean aware." Emma stepped back. "Daniel, that's not funny." "I'm not joking." She stared at him. His eyes were bright, feverish. She'd never seen him look like that. "Come inside," she said. "You need a break." But he didn't move. That evening, Emma found an old box in the attic. Inside were papers, letters, and a leather-bound journal. The name on the first page read, Thomas Harrow, 1893. She sat on the floor, flipping through the pages. Most were mundane notes about weather and harvests. But near the end, the tone changed. "The orchard grows restless. The roots shift at night. I hear them whisper beneath the soil." Emma's breath caught. "They offer knowledge, secrets, truths no man should know. But the price is memory." She turned the page. "I gave them a small one today, just a childhood moment. They rewarded me with a truth about the land, something buried deep. I feel lighter, but also less myself." The next entry was shakier. "They want more. They hunger for what I remember. They say the orchard sleeps, but not for long." The final entry was barely legible. "I cannot recall my wife's face." Emma closed the journal, hands trembling. She needed to show Daniel. She found him standing in the orchard, staring at the central tree. "Daniel," she said, breathless. "I found something." He didn't turn. "Daniel." When he finally looked at her, his expression was distant, unfocused. "Emma," he said slowly, "did you know the orchard can tell you things?" Her stomach dropped. "What did you do?" He smiled faintly. "I asked it about my mother." Emma's voice cracked. "Daniel, your mother died when you were a child." "I know," he said, "but I wanted to remember her better. I wanted to know what she was like." Emma stepped closer. "What did it take?" He blinked. "Take? The orchard. What did it take from you?" He frowned, confused. "Nothing." But Emma saw it, the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "What do you remember about our first date?" she asked. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His brow furrowed. I don't." Emma grabbed his arm. "We need to leave. Now." But the orchard whispered around them. A soft rustling that grew louder, more insistent. The branches swayed though the air was still. Daniel pulled his arm free. "I'm not leaving." "Daniel." "They can help me remember," he said. "They can give me back what I've lost." Emma shook her head. "They're taking from you. They're taking everything." He stepped backward, deeper into the orchard. "Daniel, please." But he didn't stop. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table with the journal open in front of her, reading and rereading the final entries. The orchard whispered outside, louder than ever, as if calling to her. They offer knowledge, secrets, truths no man should know. She thought of Daniel's face, the confusion in his eyes. The price is memory. She closed the journal. She had to get him back. The orchard was dark, but she didn't need a flashlight. The moon cast a pale glow over the trees, illuminating the twisted branches. The whispering grew louder as she walked, rising like a chorus. "Daniel," she called. No answer. She moved deeper, past rows of trees that seemed to lean closer as she passed. The ground felt soft beneath her feet, almost pulsing. "Daniel!" She reached the central tree. Its roots spread out like a web, thick and tangled. And there, kneeling beside it, was Daniel. He looked up as she approached. His eyes were blank. "Emma," he said softly. They showed me her face. Emma knelt beside him. "Daniel, we need to go." He shook his head. "They can show me more. They can show me everything." Emma grabbed his hands. "They're taking your memories. Soon you won't remember anything at all." He blinked slowly. I don't remember what you mean." Her heart broke. "Daniel," she whispered. "I love you." He stared at her, confused. "Who are you?" The whispering swelled, surrounding them. Emma stood, turning toward the tree. "What do you want?" she whispered. The ground shifted beneath her feet. A voice rose from the soil, soft and ancient. "A memory." Emma swallowed. "Take one of mine." "Not his." The roots stirred. "Which one?" She hesitated. Then she thought of Daniel, of the life they'd built, of the man kneeling beside her who no longer knew her name. Take the day we met." The whispering paused. Then the roots curled around her ankles, gentle but firm. A warmth spread through her, then a coldness, then nothing. When the roots released her, she staggered. Daniel blinked, looking around. "Emma," she sobbed with relief. "Daniel." He stood, pulling her into his arms. "What happened?" I felt like I was dreaming." She held him tightly. "We need to go. Now." They left the orchard together, the whispering fading behind them. But as they reached the house, Daniel stopped. "Emma," he said softly, "do you remember the day we met?" She froze. "No," she whispered. He took her hand. "It's okay. We'll make new memories." She nodded, though her chest ached. Behind them, the orchard rustled, satisfied. They moved out a week later. The house sold quickly, too quickly, and Emma wondered if the orchard had whispered to the next buyer as well. On their last night, she stood at the window, looking out at the rows of trees. The moonlight cast long shadows across the ground. The orchard was silent, sleeping, waiting. She turned away, but as she closed the curtains, she heard it. A faint whisper, soft as breath. Promise. Or a warning. "We remember what you forget." And Emma knew the orchard would never truly sleep. Not while there were memories left to take.